America First Policy Institute, only 30% of 8th graders can read proficiently. This is shocking. I don't know what it was when I was back in school, but I know for a fact it could not have been 30%. If I were just to throw out a random number without seeing this, I would have said, I don't know, maybe 80, 85% of 8th graders can read proficiently across the country on average. But right now it's only 30. 70% of our kids are being left behind. President Trump and Secretary Linda McMahon are cutting through the bureaucracy to restore freedom in education. School choice means no child is trapped in a failing school. Families, not Washington, set the pace. Faith, family, and freedom are the foundation for success. America's future depends on restoring excellence in education starting now. Look, there's a reason why a lot of kids who are homeschooled, they end up graduating when they're like, 14, 15 years old? Just because, man, people learn at different paces. And if you're homeschooling, you can cut away all that just bloated bullshit that you really don't need to learn in school, which is probably, I don't know, what percentage would you put on that of useless material that you learn in high school? Like 90% probably, something like that. I mean, yeah, some people, they might get more out of it than others, but I bet the majority of people, 9 out of 10 things that they learn in high school, they're not going to use in practical adult life. But anyway, here, this is the Secretary of Education here, Linda McMahon.
What the president really is saying is that he wants to take the bureaucracy out of education. And he wants to make sure that our children have equal access to an excellent education. He's a firm believer in school choice, that children should not be imprisoned, if you will, or held back because they're in schools,
Heavy
that
language,
aren't
man, in
successful
prison.
or aren't teaching them. And
look, dude, public education is just like communism if you really stop and think about it. Like, you have to stand in line everywhere you go, no matter what. You go where they tell you to go. You study what they tell you to study. You can only go to the bathroom when they allow you to go to the bathroom. You have to eat what they serve you, no matter what. I suppose you could bring your own lunch, but I mean, you know what I mean. It's very like communistic in a way.
And so restoring the freedom to education is so incredibly important, because I think we really have, kind of pushed our kids down. And when we look at what our nation's report card has shown since the president actually came into office, of, only 30% of 8th graders can read proficiently. Think about that, 30%. That means 70% cannot.
That's insane. That is absolutely insane. So arguably, probably even less than 30% of 8th graders could read a fucking newspaper, can adequately read a newspaper, because isn't a newspaper structured for about 9th grade level education with the words that they use on average? It's something like that. And plus, Secretary Kennedy just came out a couple of weeks ago and said that almost 80%, 79% of all children in the United States have a chronic condition, a chronic health condition, which means virtually 80% of children under 18 cannot join the military. They won't qualify because they don't have the health adequacy to do so. Insane, dude.
It's mostly the
this
same
country's
for
falling
math
apart,
as well,
isn't it?
and for fourth graders as well. We have failed our students in this country in their education. But not only have we failed them academically, I think, and part of what you were saying, Jamie, we have failed them in understanding the merits of family and that unity that comes from a very, very strong family. And,
very true.
Faith-based
That's
family
gonna be very
as
hard
well.
to fix.
So we have to restore, I think, how we think about our homes and our lives and our families. And it's just incredible to see how much difference that makes.
I don't think that's going to happen, man. I think the Believe All Women movement, the hashtag Me Too movement, that really just really threw a nasty wrench into how people couple with one another, and how men, not all men, probably not even most men, but there's a lot of men that are just like, they're throwing their hands up and like, fuck this. I'm just not even going to participate in this. I would love nothing more than to have a wife and a family, but it's just not worth it, because just the statistics are stacked pretty heavily against me, that whoever I marry, it's not going to last more than X amount of years. If we have kids, I'm not going to get to see them more than a couple times a month. You know what I mean? I could just keep going on and on and on. So with this, as far as the whole nuclear family thing goes, I don't even know how you fix that, because you're not going to force a lot of these modern progressive women to get their act together, even though they're miserable. Like, 30% of all women in the United States are on some kind of psych med today, whether if it's antidepressant or anti-anxiety or whatever it might be. And to be fair, I don't have the number for men. It's probably not a very low number either. Um, but still, how do you fix that problem? How do you get men and women to finally come together, get married, and stay married, first of all? And a lot of people, they claim that they're Christian, they're religious, but they don't practice it at all. They really don't. You're supposed to take those vows very seriously. God hates divorce. I think that might be mentioned in the Bible. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it is, though. I don't know. Maybe in certain variations of the Bible, it might actually specifically say God hates divorce. I know that's brought up a lot in conversations with regard to marriage, relationships, things like that. So anyway, yeah, with regard to education, I know homeschooling, like that really got a lot more popular during COVID. And if you're able to do so, homeschooling your kids would give your children a massive advantage, especially if you and your wife or you and your husband stay married at least until they're out of the house. Wait until they're in their 20s, then go off and do whatever the hell you want to do, whatever the hell that you think that's waiting out there for you, which, trust me, it's not. But yeah, I mean, at least give your kids a fair chance, because if you split up, if you wreck your home and your kids have to grow up in a divorced household, they're 10 times more likely to become a criminal, to drop out of high school, to not pursue higher education, to not pursue like the military, 10 times more likely to get addicted to drugs and a whole bunch of other just nasty possible outcomes. It just goes up by orders of magnitude if kids are raised in that situation.